Hello guys, welcome back to the Under the Hood JavaScript. And basically, if you missed the first video, we basically talked about what's happening under the hood of JavaScript, and when people say, well, all this kind of stuff happens under the hood. When JavaScript does something and you get to do this, well, this part right here happens under the hood. Nobody really ever talks about what's really happening under the hood. So that was what the first video was about. So if you haven't checked it out, please go back, check that one out. There's some really good stuff there, and it's important because it kind of leads on, to the next lessons and lessons and lessons. I recommend this series to be watched in its entirety. What was that? Entirety. Sorry, my accent sometimes. Anyway, so yeah, watch it completely and watch it in order. That I think that would help. Watch it in order and one at a time. Don't go into watching a lot of videos and all at once. Just one at a time and in order. And that will help you process it. So when you watch one video, try to absorb as much as you can from that one video and all the information that was given to you on that one video that I explained. Hopefully I went down to the very, very, very smallest detail and very explanation of it. I even use like examples like making a sandwich, things like that. So but even if that didn't do it for you, even if that still, leave something in the comments so I can, explain a little further, or just go out to other groups, not groups, other YouTube channels and ask questions there and, find how other people explain things. You may be able to absorb or learn better from different kinds of explanations than mine. Okay. So do that. Now, before we go any further, just make sure you subscribe. Make sure if you hit that bell so you can get notifications on these videos when they come out. Like I said, they come out periodically. They're not just going to be all up in the same day. The entire course is not going to be put out in the same day completely. So that way you can get notifications when the next one comes up. Okay. So let's dive into it. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about in this video is going to be the construct of JavaScript. Okay, so like I said, we talked about how the JavaScript engine works in the previous video, but in this one, what we're going to talk about is like, what is JavaScript really made of? Okay, and there are so many things to take in consideration, on what really makes it to get, what puts JavaScript together as a language. But I think I've been able to simplify things to three classifications or three main groups. Okay, and I think that's important because it helps you understand exactly what these groups are and what they do. Okay, and what they're for. So, and don't and I know some of you, once you start listening to my explanation, some of you that have some experience in JavaScript will probably say, no, that's completely, no, that's not right. Well, hear me out. The reason why I'm simplifying this grouping, okay, of things is so it can be understood better and take it from a different angle, but maybe not necessarily correct in terms of if you're going to pass a paper, if you're going to take it to college, if you're going to take this video to college, they're probably going to want a different answer. They're going to want to hear things classified by data types and things like that. Okay, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to give you a textbook explanation of things. I'm trying to give you something that is going to be easier to understand. All right, so let's move on. What are the three things that I think JavaScript is made out of? Okay, three things: variables, objects, and statements. That's it. That's how I break it down. Okay, and it has made JavaScript a lot easier for me to understand. So what do these things really mean? Okay, well, variables, and it's a simpler way to look at this. Variables are things you can do things to, okay? Things you can store and things like that. And objects are ways, let's just, ways that you can do things with, to the things you save, to the things you have in your variables. So things you can do to that, all right? And the statements are the how you do these things, how you do certain things to the things that you have stored in variables and things like that. And that's it. That's all I have. That's all I have, that's all I did to actually group JavaScript into an understandable group of things. So I basically just got JavaScript and I broke it down. And I was like, okay, so I got all this stuff here. You know what? This thing right here, it always ends up storing something for me. I'm gonna put it over here in variable. It may not necessarily be a variable. It probably isn't a variable. In fact, it shouldn't be a variable. It shouldn't even be called a variable. So by textbook explanation, it's not called a variable, but it kind of does hold information for me. So I'm gonna treat it as a variable. Put it as a variable. Now this guy right here, this is not really a variable. It doesn't really hold stuff, or maybe it does, maybe, but it actually does stuff. Like a variable itself doesn't really do anything. It just holds something. But this one actually does things. I'm gonna put this into an object. And now this kind of gives me some kind of process on how to do things. So I'm gonna put this into my statements. Let's dive into this. Variables. What are some of these variables? Okay. And eventually we're going to dive into, we're gonna see these into, detail, one at a time, a little bit more, we're going to dissect them a little more. But for right now, I just want to go over, an overall, view of this grouping. Okay. So that way we can break down these videos into smaller chunks. So variables. So what is really a variable? A variable is basically an allocation in memory. It's a little piece of memory that JavaScript makes in order to store something that you're going to use further or later on in your code. So you can have something like a variable a. You can store something into a variable called a, right? And then give it an actual value. So you can use that value, say for example, hello world. You can use that hello world, that variable. And we're going to see this into code later. I just don't want to get into actual coding right now. So we're going to see this when we're actually working with variables. But you can use that value that I put into a, hello world, and you can use it later on. You can use it immediately after. You can use it 3 years from now, as long as that variable still holds that value and it hasn't been changed, mutated, or deleted, removed. It will always be there. So it's kind of like it will live forever as a value of that. Okay, as long as that program has that value attached to that variable, it will always live there. So we have different types of variables. Okay, so some of the variables that you're going to be hearing that we're going to be talking about are going to be undefined. Okay, and we're going to talk about what these are: null, number, string, boolean, symbol, that's a tricky one, and array. That's the part where someone in the comments is gonna go like, whoa, array? No, array is not a variable. It is true. It isn't a variable, okay? But it does hold things. It does hold data for me. It holds, I can use it, I can assign things to it and store them in there. I can do so much with it. So I treat it as a variable. It's not a variable, okay? You're not going to pass a college test with this video. You're probably going to flunk it. So this is not for that, but it just helps me understand it better, okay? Now, objects. What are objects? Okay, so the best way that I can, explain an object is a grouping of name and value pairs, okay? So inside of an object, you can have other objects as well in there, but inside of an object, you have a group of variables with values in it. For example, you can have functions again, which are, at that point we call methods, but still you can have other functions and methods, and you can have a whole different kind of thing in there that kind of do hold and store information within them. And we'll see this more about in the future, which is kind of hard to explain it, just over the shell right now without going too deep into it. But so for right now, just so we don't go too far into this, I'll basically just list some of these objects, okay, that you will see in JavaScript. So you have object literals, you have functions and anonymous functions, operators. I know a lot of people don't think of operators as an object or a function, but an operator, an operator is actually a function. And I will explain this a lot more into detail once we get to the operators part. If you didn't know that an operator was a function, you're going to be amazed, because I was when I first landed, when I first realized that just something as simple as a plus or a dot, I was like, that's a function? Wow. You'll see. So where were we? Constructors, JSON, okay? The date object, methods, the window object, okay? And then the this keyword and the new keyword. These are keywords, okay, used to invoke an object. But that invocation of an object is a function in itself, okay? It does work on the browser, on the JavaScript engine to do something to something. So it is kind of like it does work as an object, if you will. If you follow the whole family transgression of an object is a function and a function is an object, therefore if this is a function or could be treated as a function, therefore this could be an object. Huh? Again, that's the way that I treat it as. That's the way that I try to group it to help me understand it. And then you have statements, okay? And the statements, like I said before, obviously, JavaScript is dumb. JavaScript is not as smart as you would think it is. It's a great, great, great language to work with, but it only follows, like every program in the world, actually, even Java, C++, or Python, all of them, COBOL, Pascal, whatever, Pascal, all of these, okay? They're all these languages. They only work by a set of instructions that you give it to, okay? You tell them to do something, to something, do this, with this, to that. Give me the output. It's a set of instructions. That's what statements are. Statements are instructions. So you have variables and you have objects to handle, manipulate, evaluate, process these variables, okay, into something else, mutate them, whatever. The statement is basically the commander in the unit, in the army unit, telling them what to do, basically. It's telling the objects, hey, go do this to the variable, mutate it, change it, process it, evaluate it, do something with it, give me the output back. That's what statements are. Some of the statements that you're going to see are probably going to be the if then else statement, okay, to compare things and give different options out. The for loop, or pretty much all loops, while loops, and switch statements, and there are a few more. But we'll go over those four for now, and then we'll dissect them a little later. But there's a lot more to go with it. So this is where I'm actually going to stop in this video. I think that just having this kind of grouping, as information to go with, it's already probably going to get your head turning. So in the future, in the next lessons, we're going to go deeper into variables and how to declare them, how to, how do they work, how do they get hoisted, and all that stuff. Okay, so again, don't forget to share, like, dislike, whatever you have to do. Subscribe, hit that bell button, do whatever you have to do down there to make sure that you continue to get these videos from me, and not get lost along the way, because there's going to be a lot of information coming out in this video on how JavaScript works under the hood. Okay, see you on the next lesson.